Have a fantastic one. And I'll catch you all on the next installment of the Carolina Swap Shop.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. President Trump is backing away from his initial threat to obliterate Iranian power plants starting later today. He says there have been productive talks between the U.S. and Iran. As a result, he's giving Iran an additional 5 days. Meantime, the president says the U.S. is not budging an inch on its demands. 2 pilots are dead following a crash last night. Happened on a runway at New York's LaGuardia Airport. The airport remains closed. An Air Canada regional jet had just landed from Montreal when it crashed into a fire truck, crushing the plane's nose. The pilot and co-pilot were killed. Dozens of people were injured. Police in London investigating a suspected anti-Semitic hate crime attack on 4 vehicles belonging to a Jewish ambulance service. Those vehicles set on fire. The Dow is up 947 points. More details, srnnews.com.
Just hearing the word IRS can make people break out in a cold sweat. No one wants to deal with the IRS, and now you don't have to. The good news is Legal Tax Defense has been successfully negotiating with the IRS for more than 15 years. It doesn't matter how much you owe, whether it's $5,000 or $5 million. You deserve the best in the business on your side, and that is Legal Tax Defense. Even if you're working with someone else and just want a second opinion, there is no cost or obligation to call. They can prevent levies, liens, wage garnishments, even file back tax returns. And the best news about Legal Tax Defense is they won't take your case unless they know they will reduce or eliminate your tax debt. Call Legal Tax Defense right now for a first consultation. 800-292-7875. 800-292-7875. You have nothing to lose but everything to gain. 800-292-7875.
The following program is a paid advertisement and does not necessarily represent the views, opinions, or endorsements of Signal Hill Media Partners, its affiliate stations, or its advertisers. Welcome to Taking Care of NC, the program dedicated to exploring the issues, opportunities, and challenges shaping the great state of North Carolina. Join your host, Representative Jeff McNeely, as he delves into meaningful discussions about politics, community initiatives, and the people working to make a difference. Whether it's tackling local concerns, highlighting state achievements, or addressing pressing legislative matters, this show is your go-to source for understanding how North Carolina is growing and thriving. Stay tuned as we kick off another insightful episode of Taking Care of NC.
Good morning, North Carolina. Hope everybody's doing well this morning. It's warm outside, a little overcast, but you can't beat the temperature. So if you got something to do, maybe get out. I don't know if rain's coming or not. Looks like it, but they ain't calling for it. So hopefully we'll be okay. It's just one of those days. Good time to get out and not get sunburned already early this year. Hey, got a great show coming on today. Second part of it, having to flip it around to work with him. This way he says he can take an early lunch because he is a very devoted public servant. Got Sheriff Sam Page from Rockingham County. And if that name sounds familiar to you, it's because he was the one that ran against Senator Phil Berger, one of the most powerful political figures in our state, and he right now is in the lead, but yet to be confirmed. So stay tuned for the second half of the show. But, hey, we got a lot to talk about the first half of the show. If anybody wants to call in, 704-873-9929. I even put the number in the chat this morning, so I'm kind of watching my phone. Hey, something going on all of a sudden. I'm going to get to it. You know, I'm a Wolfpacker. I'm a state fan, but is UNC getting ready to do something with Hubert Davis? They have actually postponed his coaching show for tonight. So it's something up. Sounds like somebody better be getting their checkbooks out and sharpening their pencils if this is going to happen, because you got him, and then they talked about getting rid of a football coach. We're talking about getting on up there into the big numbers now. You know, you start talking about 15, 20 million here and 50 million there, you're talking about real money now.
That's going to get get pricey.
It's going to get it. It's going to be interesting. But, hey, let's get on to what we know. Let's talk a little politics. We'll see what happens there. We'll get the popcorn out. Well, the SAVE Act is in full swing in the Senate, the U.S. Senate right now. And the GOP has started the talking filibuster, and this could go on for weeks. Well, that was what I wrote last night, but this morning I actually went down to Mooresville and got to talk with my Senator Ted Budd, who was down there. And so it's actually going to probably get paused for a second. You know, the old saying, if you have the majority, you make the rules. So they're actually changing their own rules a little bit to pause the filibuster to basically work harder on getting DHS, Department of Homeland Security, back up and funded. And I got a little bit to talk about that in a second. So we'll see. But once this filibuster kicks into it, and here's the beauty, once they get going, if they stay with it, then nothing else really happens in the Senate until a vote is taken. And this is the first step in working our way from having to have 60 votes down to 51 votes. Now, for y'all that don't know out there, and you've probably heard this word thrown around, the SAVE Act, the SAVE Act. Well, basically, what this is changing some of the requirements to vote in elections. And mainly when federal elections are involved, which is every 2 years. So the beauty of this is really it's going to make sure that you're a U.S. citizen and you're registered. So you'll have to prove, if you're not already registered, you'll have to prove that you are a U.S. citizen. Now, there's quite a few different forms of ID that will work, birth certificate. But if you're already, from what I read the bill, if you're already registered and you want to move, let's say, to another county, even another state, once you move to another state, you may have to do something. But as long as you remain inside the state of North Carolina, all you have to do is show your driver's license, some kind of picture ID, and you'll have to go to the Board of Elections in that county. And the big thing they're saying is that, oh, well, now they do it online. Well, actually, only about 5% of the people do something online. Most of them are either done at the DMV or at the Board of Elections in person. So we're taking it one more step to make sure, because they really don't vet them real well. Doesn't vet it really well at all online, but doesn't vet it real well at the DMV. And it kind of leaves it up to your local Board of Election to go ahead and canvass, which is a fancy word of saying contact you at the address you gave, and you bring them back a card that says basically you received it, so they know that is your actual address. You do live in that precinct, that district, wherever it may be. Now, the really funny thing about this is, and there is no funny thing other than the Democrats, once again, not only did they believe it here in North Carolina forever, the first voter ID law that was put forth here in North Carolina was in 2013. I think it was in 2012, the Supreme Court ruled on a case that allowed states to actually go back and make some of their own laws. Before that, we were in this federal 1965 Civil Rights Voter Act. And so this opened up. So they did a lot of sweeping changes. And I think it was in 2013, the North Carolina legislature decided to implement voter ID. Well, they did make it rather constricting, and it was overturned in the courts, especially the North Carolina courts, because at that time there was a Democrat-led North Carolina Supreme Court. So as things filtered through and it went back, and then we voted on it in 2018. And it was on the ballot, and it passed by about close to 60%. But yet, Democrats still weren't happy, and they continued to sue till we're blue. And in that same time of suing, the complexion of the North Carolina Supreme Court, I guess complexion's as good as word as any, changed to where it went more conservative. And so they continued to get stays from lower court, but then overturned in the North Carolina Supreme Court, which eventually allowed us to finally get having voter ID. Basically, in 22, we were able to get it established. And so now you have to show some form of identification. And we did ease the restrictions on it, but still a picture ID is what we look for and what we want. And that's what they're asking for on the federal level. And the Democrats say that that's impossible for their voters to get. Now, if you ask me, I think that's kind of a slam. There's hardly anything you can do in this world right now, including getting welfare benefits, any entitlements or whatever, unless you can prove who you are with a photo ID. So even the poorest of the poor or the ones that are hurting the most still have to provide some type of ID to be able to participate in any government or state or even municipality program of help in any way. But you also have to have it to get a lot of your prescriptions, pretty much everything behind the counter, and some over the counter if it's cold medicines that you could make meth out of. And about everything you go at. If you're going to travel, you got to have it. If you go to the airport, now we have the actual real ID, which is the next step. You don't necessarily have to have that to vote, but you do have to have it to enter a federal building. So if you need to go to the federal courthouse, you will need this real ID. So we've even gone one step farther in trying to identify and make sure we have people who are American citizens coming to vote. And they'll tell you on the other side of the aisle, the Democrats will, that there is nobody out there coming to vote that is illegal. Well, that's funny. Every election we have, we usually find a good, 4 or 5 dozen that show up and get confused because they registered at the DMV and they got a driver's license and they were asked if they wanted to vote and they said sure, and they fill it out, but yet they got a different colored ID that shows that they're not citizens but are able to participate on our highways, but they think that means they can vote. And in some instances, it's actually happened. And where we usually catch them at is when we call them for jury duty. And one of the ways they get out of jury duty is telling us that they're not a U.S. citizen. But we get our jury duty rolls from our voter rolls. People will tell anything to get out of jury duty. It's just what we're saying. So this is going on. We have it in North Carolina. The unique thing that I see and looking at the states, and I think there's about 13 states that do not have voter ID. And here's a list of them, and I want you to tell me at the end what the conclusion you come to that's kind of often weird about these particular states. California, District of Columbia, not a state, but it thinks it is, Hawaii, Illinois, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Nebraska. That's the one outlier, but they are now requiring some kind of an ID. Nevada, which goes back and forth a lot. New Jersey, New Mexico, which is blue in case y'all don't know. New York, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Vermont, and Washington State. Now, here's the interesting thing. Out of all the states that voted in blue in the last election, the only one I didn't mention was Virginia, and Virginia has an ID requirement. As far as I know, Virginia's not having any problems, hadn't been any real big deal. So if you do have a blue state that's doing voter ID, then why won't the other ones do it if there's no big deal? And we know there's no big deal because everybody has to have an ID. The SAVE Act actually polls close to 80%, y'all. So I'm trying to figure out what is it other than it makes it more difficult to do something illegal. Why would you not want to make sure that only American citizens vote? Well, unless you need votes from somebody else. Maybe that's why. It sure does make him look very suspicious, in my opinion. Chuck Schumer would love to tell you this is Jim Crow 2.0. No, this is not Jim Crow. This is making sure that our elections are secure. Why wouldn't anybody want that? Blue, red, pink with purple polka dots, whoever, whatever signifies your party or who you are. Why wouldn't you want this? I don't know, unless you have alternative motives or ulterior motives, maybe I should say. Anyway, anybody to call in and talk about any of this, 704-873-9929. Let me get that right, 704-873-9929. Give us a call. Love to hear from you. Well, moving on, talked a little bit about Homeland Security. TSA is going to get some help today. ICE agents are heading to the airports to improve travel amid the Democratic shutdown of the Department of Homeland Security. And because of that, TSA is not being funded. So here's people making $45,000, $50,000 a year working at the airport, making sure you don't carry something on illegal onto the planes. And they catch a lot more grief than they should. I know they actually put forth the law here lately that you don't have to take your shoes off. Well, folks, that's true unless you wear cowboy boots, which I did, thinking, hey, I don't have to take my shoes off. I can wear my boots now if I want to go somewhere. Used to, I'd just wear some kind of slip-ons because it was easy of some kind, it was my loafers. So guess what? I go to the airport. They don't like my boots. I still got to take them off. Now, the bad thing is they're fairly nice pair of boots. And I watched them get beat up as they went through the assembly line of getting viewing stuff on that cargo thing. I put them in a tray. Next thing I know, I saw them just rolling along on the rollers there and the other boxes pushing them. I was a little perturbed about that. Those people have a tough job. Nobody really likes sitting there in line. Nobody likes going through all their stuff. But there's a job that has to be done. Evidently, the Democrats don't care how much suffering these people do. And there's done quite a few. I think somewhere around 350 have quit TSA. So now that makes them shorthanded across the nation. And then there's another about 500 or 600 that are calling in sick pretty regularly because they're going to try to find part-time jobs because they don't have money to get to work. They don't have gas money. And the lines now at the airports are taking 2 to 3 hours. So make sure you plan ahead if you're going on a trip to spend quite a bit of time sitting there in the security line. And I'd love to tell you what times to go and what times not to go. But from what I understand, it's pretty much from daylight till dark. That is long waits. They just don't have the people and they got to get it done. Funny thing about all this is now the Democrats are questioning whether ICE is trained to do security. Because heaven knows we wouldn't want anybody in the airport doing security that, hasn't been able to secure our border or be able to arrest immigrants and get them out. So ICE, I think, from what I understand, is not sitting there looking at the cameras. They're going to be guarding the exits, and they're going to be there taking the place of some of the other ones that just stand there and kind of watch and oversee to allow what TS agents we have to be better utilized. I think it's a good plan. Evidently, there's at least, 13, 15, 20 states that don't want ICE in them. So now we're going to put them somewhere else to work. They're getting funded. Them and the Border Patrol are funded through the Department of Homeland Security, but TSA is not. If you ask me, I think you just put on a different uniform and show up. Tell you the truth, you take your ICE uniform on, put on your TSA uniform and go. Or better yet, why don't we change all the TSA agents' uniforms to ICE uniforms, and then we can pay them? It's just a uniform. Why not do that? My best part of this, and it didn't quite qualify for crazy as it gets, but it got really dadgum close, really close, is that the Democrats are worried about illegal immigrants that are flying on planes being harassed by ICE because now they've showed up at the airport. I think that's why we're checking everybody's ID at the airport to find out who is here legally and should fly and who is not here illegally that is trying to fly. So if that's making somebody that's an illegal alien that has crossed the border illegally uncomfortable to fly, I suggest they talk to the people at Greyhound. They provide a service that might be more fitting. Just saying, I don't think ICE and TSA are going to be on Greyhound. Probably oughta, but they're not. So for all the Democrats that are worried out there that somebody might get arrested for doing something illegal like in our country, odds are they're probably not got the ID to get on the plane anyway. We'll see. Like I said, anybody want to holler in 704-873-9929. Now, interesting stuff going on. Georgia has suspended its fuel tax on gas and diesel until it comes back down. I think this is a bold move. by Georgia because we're not sure how long this conflict's going to last. Right now, they're projecting it to only do it for 60 days. And if they do it for 60 days, it's going to cost the state of Georgia about $400 million. So I looked and tried to do the numbers. Here's our problem in North Carolina trying to do something like this. Right now, we are so desperately short on highway funds because of all the devastation still roads to be built in western North Carolina. I don't see how we're able to do this. One thing that I think that we can do, and I've actually contacted the governor's office and talked to some friends there. And yes, I have friends at the governor's office, believe it or not. And they talk to me. I ain't going to tell you they're going to listen to me. I even told them they could take all the credit for this if they wanted to. But I think what we need to do right now maybe is to allow any vehicle with a farm tag and or school buses to run off-road fuel. Now, this is not a lot, but it's close to 40 cents a gallon that it would save. And tell you the truth, I've been looking around, and really a lot of places, I guess, have an overabundance of the red fuel, the off-road fuel. Some places I've seen up to $1 difference. So maybe they're not inventorying in more or whatever, but they haven't gone up so much on their red fuel. But it will be at least 40 cents cheaper. And I know that's not a lot, but that's a compromise that I think we can live with. Right now, we're getting ready to head into planting season. And yeah, we're running off-roading tractors and all that different stuff, planting crops. But we also use a lot of trucks to move stuff back and forth, chemicals, seed, whatever. And right now, a lot of things are getting hauled out because they're getting in the process of getting bins cleaned out so we can get into our wheat harvest, which will be here in pretty soon here in June. So this would give a chance to help alleviate a little pain. Right now, my farmers are suffering pretty bad just with the prices of grains and all the input costs. And know this, this has made fertilize go up again, the conflict over there, because natural gas is involved in the conflict, and they keep trying to blow that stuff up. So it would be, I think, a good gesture, and it wouldn't cost the state of North Carolina a whole lot, but it would be something. And I know my farmers would appreciate it. And I know the school systems will, because they hadn't really budgeted fuel to go up like this. So now they're having to dig into fund balance in a lot of places just to cover the upside on moving buses and kids around. So maybe we'll talk about it. But do know this, if y'all can do the math out there. In 25, we redid the Strategic Transportation Improvement Plan. It's called the STIP for a great, cool acronym in North Carolina, and rescored every project. And then we set about looking at the roads we would need to build over the next 15 years to 2040. And at that time, we had about $148 billion worth of roads to build. So we collect so much a year to do new roads, and then so much a year to do the maintenance on the ones we have. So the amount that we roughly collect every year right now, with the way it comes in, is about $4 billion. So if you can do the math, you can do it a couple different ways. You can divide $4 billion into $148 billion and see, or you can do 15 years times $4 billion and see that's about $60 billion. And so we need 148. Now, for all y'all that don't like to do math, I can tell you right now, $60 billion will not cover $148 billion worth of roads. And the price could possibly go up with inflation and whatnot before a lot of these roads are built. So it may even be a lot higher figure than that. So now you kind of understand the crunch we're in as far as transportation goes in this state. Cars are getting more fuel efficient. We are charging electric vehicles a fee to drive the roads to try to take up for the fuel tax we're not getting there. But it's still nowhere near enough. And so we're going to have to look at alternative measures. And when I say that, I can tell you right now, nobody likes alternative measures, because that means we're looking for alternative ways to get money to build roads. So just know that we are in a severe shortfall as far as the roads we need to do, because we're a growing state, and the roads that we need to maintain. So we'll see. if I can get Governor Josh Stein to maybe at least help the farmers in the school systems. Stay tuned for that one. That one's going to be an interesting go. We'll see how it is. All right, real quick here. It looks like there's a new game in Iran and the nearby countries to blow up their energy plant. So everybody's talking about this, especially natural gas output in the region. Ships are moving through the Strait of Hormuz. I got to say that right. Has fallen 96% in March. I got a question. I'm just a dumb old country boy, you know. But it looks like Iran has about 54 oil tankers that we know of registered as their domain in Iran. Why aren't we hijacking, using them, whatever it takes to get those oil tankers, loading it with the oil and sending it through the Strait of Hormuz? And that way, if they decide to blow something up, it'll be blowing up their own oil tanker, not somebody else's. Just a thought. I'm just thinking out loud. Either that or we go ahead and let them load their oil and we just hijack it once it gets out of the Strait of Hormuz and take the oil wherever we want to. One of the two. But I don't believe in letting them sell oil, and they're doing that. I think they're sending some to Cuba now, and I don't know exactly why we're doing that. They don't need any more money because all they're going to do is use it to buy whatever they can to fire at us and their neighbors. And when are their neighbors going to pitch in on this and help us because they're getting shelled, but they won't fight back? And we've sold all of those over there, Saudi Arabia, UAE, you name them. We've sold them all kind of military stuff to fight Iran, and they're sitting on the ground. They won't put their jets in the air. At what point and what time do you get tired of having your neighbors shoot at you just because you're standing around not going one side or another? Somebody's got to step up here, make this happen. All right, now for my favorite part of the show, even though we got Sam Page coming on, and I think it's going to be really good. Crazy as it gets, part one. So I don't know how many of y'all been watching March Madness, but High Point College, used to be college, university over in High Point, North Carolina, made the tournament. Little old school over there. I think their big thing is they're the life skills university in this state or maybe up the country. But they had a guard, and his name is Chase Johnson. And Chase Johnson hit the winning layup against Wisconsin with a second and a half, I think it was, or 2.5 seconds to go in the game. Now, that's not that crazy. The crazy part is he's the starter on the team. That was the first 2-point shot that not only did he hit it for the season, that's the first one he has taken for the season. His coach at High Point has forbid him to shoot anything but 3-point shots. And he said he was terrified after the game. He talked about it because he said, I hadn't made any kind of a 2-pointer, let alone a layup, the whole season in a game. And he said, I was so afraid I was going to miss it. He even often said, I thought about pulling up and shooting a 3 because that's what I do. I just think this is really weird, but this is where we're at in the state of basketball and I guess college basketball. I'm glad he made it. What happens if he misses the 2-point layup because he hadn't been taking any? I thought this was weird. The easiest shot in basketball became one of the most difficult ones for this young man because of the way we play the game now. And so there's a lot of things going on over there right now, and it's been a great tournament so far. Quite a few upsets. A lot of people didn't see coming. Going back on what I talked about earlier, State got beat by Texas, and I'm going to tell you what, I thought Texas is a pretty daggum good team, and I think they're in the Sweet 16 now. So I don't know how they ended up 18 and whatever, but they're fast, they're big. They beat us up pretty good. We was just lucky to keep it close. But Hubert Davis is under hot water because he had, I think, a 19-point lead, and somehow or another between them helping them and VCU coming on, ended up coming back and beating them in overtime. And so I think Hubert's had a pretty good season. he had some players get hurt. And like I said, I just think, there's a high level, a bar set really high over in Chapel Hill of what they want for a coach. And so I think this is making it kind of hard on Hubert. So we'll see. We'll see how this goes. All right. Now, for my part 2, crazy as it gets. And this is one of my favorite. I got to watch my times here because we're getting down to get ready to do the half hour. But so New York Governor Kathy Hochul wants the rich to come back to her state after she taxed them to death and they moved to lower tax states. Pandering at its worst. In 2022, when she first ran for governor, she told them to leave if they didn't believe in all the welfare programs that she wanted to push into place. And you know what? They did. Guess who else wants his people to come back home? Cuba. Begging for prosperous Cubans living in Florida to return so that they can take their money too. This is the perfect example. Guess what they have in common? Socialism. They always say it works great until you run out of the other guy's money. Go ahead, Democrats. Tax the wealthy. That's all I hear from y'all. And you know what? They'll pack up and they'll go wherever they want to, because one thing you forget is they're wealthy. They can do what they want. They're not stuck. They're not poor. So what you end up doing is eventually taxing the poor because you run out of all the other people's monies that leave. I think you should look at these and understand why socialism never works, especially in a capitalistic society like America. All right, folks, we're going to take a break. Hopefully we're going to get Sam Page on the phone. We're going to talk to him the second half of the show. Stay tuned.
Kids across America are going to school hungry. Millions of kids every day. But one simple thing can help change all of this for a hungry child in America. Good, healthy food and the energy it brings. With help from caring people across America, No Kid Hungry is providing healthy meals and hope to hungry kids so they can build better futures. To learn more about ending child hunger in America, go to helpnokidhungry.org today.
We all want more for North Carolina. More boundless views, more adventures in the outdoors, and more clean roads to get there. But to get more, we have to do less. Less littering, that is. Make it your nature to trash your trash and keep NC clean. And we'll all have more reasons to love North Carolina. Litter less, get more. For more on the 7 outdoor NC Leave No Trace principles, visit OutdoorNC.com. Sponsored by the North Carolina Association of Broadcasters and Visit North Carolina, a part of the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina in cooperation with this station.
We all play a role in keeping our community safe.
Every day, we move in and out of each other's busy lives.
It's easy to take for granted all the little moments that make up our everyday.
Some are good, others not so much.
But that's life.
It's when something doesn't seem quite right that it's time to pay attention.
Because only you know what's not supposed to be in your everyday.
So protect your everyday.
If you see something suspicious, say something to local authorities.
Bravo, Brenda. You've always been a saver. Price matching your price matches. The self-proclaimed queen of extreme couponing. But this time you truly outdone yourself. By saving for this electric vehicle, you're locking in up to $1,000 a year in fuel and maintenance savings, which will leave you saying, cha-ching, every time you unplug. Good for your wallet, great for the planet. That's the power of EV. Sponsored by the ANC Clean Energy Technology Center and the North Carolina Association of Broadcasters in cooperation with the station.
Kids across America are going to school hungry. Millions of kids every day. But one simple thing can help change all of this for a hungry child in America. Good, healthy food and the energy it brings. With help from caring people across America, No Kid Hungry is providing healthy meals and hope to hungry kids so they can build better futures. To learn more about ending child hunger in America, go to helpnokidhungry.org today.
We all want more for North Carolina. More boundless views, more adventures in the outdoors, and more clean roads to get there. But to get more, we have to do less. less littering that is. Make it your nature to trash your trash and keep NC clean. And we'll all have more reasons to love North Carolina. Litter less, get more. For more on the 7 Outdoor NC Leave No Trace principles, visit OutdoorNC.com. Sponsored by the North Carolina Association of Broadcasters and Visit North Carolina, a part of the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina in cooperation with this station.
We all. All right, back here with the second half of the show. Trying to get Sam on the phone. I ain't got him yet. Maybe he's going to give me a holler here in a second. We'll see if we can keep him going here till we get to hear from him, because I got a lot to ask him. Hey, but one thing that is going on right now, I'll do a little house cleaning, as we say, till it gets on here. Right now, mass mail voting has had public confidence, and on Monday, the Supreme Court can help. So today, Mississippi law says absentee ballots that are postmarked on time are valid, even if officials don't receive them from the mailman until a week later. Other states have similar rules. Now, North Carolina changed this. So the question for the justices is, does accepting tardy mail votes violate the federal law that's set because they have a uniform election day? So this will be interesting to see what the federal court goes, because this is kind of working along with the SAVE Act, where you have actually the federal government kind of come in and telling everybody what they kind of need to do as far as how we're going to go about voting in this country. And, there's been a series of provisions go all the way back to 1845. Congress fixed federal election day on the Tuesday in early November. No problem. The states argue. So Mississippi requires that the ballots of federal office be cast, marked, and submitted to election officials by federal election day. If early voting is fine, and if the counting process can go on for days after the poll closes, then why not an arrival of absentee ballots that were marked and mailed on time? So the real question here is, can we depend on the United States Postal Service? And there was a lot of talk in the 2020 election about these type of ballots. And there was a lot of issues because all of a sudden they're independently, they are in federal postal system, but it seems to have been a lot of different controversies about piles of mail coming in, maybe not postmarked the right way, and the U.S. Postal Service sent them on anyway. And so now you get into this, where did this ballot come from, and how long has the Postal Service sat on it? And I had a problem back when it snowed here of getting a check from me down to Mooresville, and it took about a week. But we had the snow and all the problems that first snow that came. Come to find out, the Postal Service does not really believe in that rain, sleet, or snow shall not delay us. They don't really believe in that anymore. It will delay them. It will delay them. So got an issue there. And we're going to see how this goes. We're going to see. North Carolina, we have made Election Day at 7:30, I think it is, on Election Day, the last possible time for absentee ballots to get in. So we have told them, if you want to get counted, we stepped the days back, gave them more time to get the ballot and send it to us, but it's got to be in on Election Day. So now the question is going to be, do we have to have everything in the Board of Elections' hands at the end of Election Day? And I think that we made a good law and say, yes, that takes out any of the monkey business. That takes out any of the issues put in the post office to make sure they get their job done. Because I don't think they're doing as well as they have in the past, and things are a little iffy right now. I always say, if I got to make sure I got to get it there next day, I'm somewhere else besides the United States Post Office. I just am, folks. I've done the priority mail, and I've sent it regular mail. And you know what? Priority mail and regular mail get there the same daggum time. And I paid $10 more to get there the same daggum time. So I think there's enough issues. We'll see how the federal courts rule on this. This is a red and blue. There's a whole lot out there of both. So going to see if I can get Sam. I may actually just call Sam here one more time and see where he's at, because I really wanted him to be on today. So hopefully we'll get him here and get him on board with us. So, now, he's still being the sheriff up there. So he's got a lot going on, I'm sure. But he said he's going to take an early lunch hour. That's a faithful public servant right there. So hopefully he's going to clue in. Maybe there's been something bad happen, and he's got to be sheriff more than this. Could be one of these days where I ad-lib a whole lot. This could get interesting, Ron. Yeah, still getting his voicemail, so got to get up with him somehow or another. But we're supposed to have him this morning. All right, this has been a unusual election for sure. They're still going through some recounting. I think they're going to exhaust all. I think actually Phil Berger's going to get to the point where they're going to do an official, complete hand recount of every vote. This is very expensive. All right, I got Sam calling me on my phone. Let's see if I can get Sam to call the other line. Hey, Sam. Hey.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Hey, it's Jeff McNeely. Go ahead and call that number, and we'll get you on there.
All right.
Look,
Give me just 1 second.
Yeah, look at your text. It's in it. All right, we're looking for you. Bye.
All right, isn't it well?
All right, here we go. All right, so let's see if we can get him called here. That's the great thing with a live radio show. You never know what the heck's going to happen next.
You never can tell.
Yeah, can't tell. It's always something.
Here we go.
Hello, this is Representative Jeff McNeely. Who do we got here?
Sam Page.
Sam, how are you, Sheriff? You doing all right, sir?
Yes, sir. We're doing good. Yes, sir. Everything is great. Everything is great.
All right. Well, glad to hear it. Well, hey, I do this with everybody, including myself some days when I'm on the show. Tell us a little bit, who is Sam Page? Well, give us a little bit of your history. People in North Carolina need to know who you are.
Well, I grew up in Reesville, North Carolina. As you know, you probably might not know, but Reesville is the home of the Reesville Rams, which we got a lot of championships in football and a lot in basketball.
Yeah.
But I graduated from Reesville High School and had like I said, I wanted to get into law enforcement, but being a little bit too young, I decided to join the Air Force as a security police. And I went with that career field and also was a dog handler in service. So I worked for about 5 years in the military before I got into civilian law enforcement, starting at Fort Lauderdale PD. I was there for a short while, and then I came back home to because I longed for the small community, not the big city. So I came back home back in the 80s and have worked in law enforcement pretty much ever since.
So I guess you've worked your way up through the sheriff's department and then ran for sheriff, and you've been the sheriff up there about 24 years, hadn't you? It's been a while.
Well, actually, I'm in my 7th term.
Oh,
and
wow! So 28 years.
I'm in my 28th year as sheriff, and at the end of this year, when I retire at the end of November, December 1st, I'll be served 44 years in law enforcement in Rockingham County in law enforcement, and then of course 5 years military law enforcement. So I've got a lot of years in public safety.
Well, we appreciate your service both in the military and being in the sheriff's department and being the sheriff up there. And evidently, you're well liked. From best I can tell, looking at the numbers, you are well liked up in Rockingham County.
Well, we work hard, and I said this a long time ago. When in law enforcement, somebody asked, "Why do you go into law enforcement?" Because I said, "Because I want to help people." And that's been my mantra for all these years. And again, like I said, I think building relationships and trust is the most important thing you can do in law enforcement, because when you have the trust of the citizens, you can get your job done and do it effectively.
Well, I tell you what, it's a rare case that you run into the sheriff of a county and he isn't or her isn't the most popular politician there is, because you're out there looking after them, protecting them. I keep asking for more money. I think that's the difference.
Well, important is it kind of all connects, because
it does.
You guys in the legislative process, when there are grants available and there's money available to help for equipment, training, and technology, you guys are there to help and help us through that, because we don't have an unlimited amount of money in our communities.
Yeah, and it takes money to pay those officers. It takes money to protect those officers and to outfit them and do everything you got to do to keep the people safe. And I think everybody wants to lay down at night and know they can sleep and know somebody's there watching over them. Making sure that the bad guys are going to stay away, or if they do come, there's going to be somebody there to come and stop them. And that's what you want. That's how you have a society. You can't have society without safety. You just can't.
Right. The first responsibility of government is protecting our citizens.
That's right.
I can say that.
Go ahead.
I've met chiefs, and I've met sheriffs, and I've met public safety, first responders, volunteers. And that's another thing, we can't forget our volunteers, particularly we see with our rescue and our firefighters, man, because we couldn't make it without our volunteers. And I'm hoping we'll be to continue to get young people involved and supporting public safety and growing in that area, because we're not going to be here forever in public safety, and we need to grow people behind us.
Well, that's right. That's right. You got to be what was it? Somebody told me you got to be 3 layers deep at least. You got to be 3 layers deep. So you can't just have the first team. You got to have the second, third, and fourth sitting on the bench ready to come or in the game.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, let me ask this question. Why did you want to run for the North Carolina Senate? Because I don't know what you're making as sheriff, but I'm going to tell you now, I'm guessing you're taking a pay cut.
Well, don't tell my wife, but I never did this for the money. I did this because, like I said before, I'm in public safety because I want to help people. It's no different in public service and working in the legislature is you want to help people, your citizens in your district. And, whether I'm a sheriff or in the legislature, my goal is to make sure that I look after the citizens of the district I'm responsible for and advocate for them.
Well, that's right. That's right. So
again, a lot of thought, a lot of prayer, conversation, and just overwhelming, quite a bit of support. I said, you know what, the time is right now. I need to do this. I feel like when I finish my obligation as a sheriff and in law enforcement, that I've served the citizens again, for 44 years, and I feel like I've worked hard. But at a point in time, you got to let the people that you've trained up behind you they need to come in and fill those gaps, and then but I can still help them, and I can still help public safety across the state as a legislative body or the legislative body.
Well, I think every time I've talked to you, Sam, I feel like your heart's in the right place, because this, like I said, you don't do this. Really, even being a sheriff, you may make fairly well, but you don't do it for the money. Because what I saw a T-shirt the other day. I said, I got to get me one of them. It said, I was a people person, but people ruined it. So I'm just saying, it's hard. It's hard a lot of days. You try to do right, but you work with a lot of different personalities, and so life's never easy, no matter what you do. But you got to have a love for your fellow man and woman to want to do any of these jobs, whether it be law enforcement, first responders, fire, but politicians. Although we get a bad name, we all try to start out saying we're wanting to help, and that's what's the old scary saying? I'm from the government and I want to help. I think that's the scariest
right.
7 letters, 7 words.
I believe there are people in government that truly want to help. I think the biggest problem I see, and I've had the opportunity to work through the Sheriff's Association at the work on legislation, dealing with public safety issues.
Yep.
I've had the opportunity to work at the congressional level with our representatives there, with some of our senators there, all the way up to the president, and I've had the opportunity to work on policy issues that affect us, like what we're seeing right now, border security initiatives, and also interior enforcement. I've been able to work with some great people. Tom Holman. I mean,
yep.
I still communicate with Tom. There are other people that are no longer with the administration, but we worked with during the last administration. But at the end of the day, protecting America, starting at our borders, seeing the big picture, because what comes to their borders comes to North Carolina. So I try to do my part to educate myself, North Carolina, to help educate them to see what's coming so they don't get caught off guard. And, look, we saw what happened with fentanyl and how many lives we lost. We saw the cartel come in. We've seen the crime issues and other issues. But we've been trying to get ahead of that. And I think there are a lot of sheriffs and chiefs and law enforcement and public safety working together at local, state, and federal levels to make a difference and protect our communities. It's a partnership. The big picture, it's a partnership. If we want to make sure we're safe, it's a partnership. Just like with our military members. Right now, they're fighting to protect us abroad, so we don't have to fight local.
That's right. That's right. Yep. Hey, all right. So, one of the first questions I want to ask you about this election is did you go down to the river and get the small, smooth stones, or did you use a jagged one to kill Goliath? Which one did you use? I'm being a smart aleck.
I know what you're talking about. I think David had more than one stone, but I will say this. I knew this would be close, but I said this early on. This would be won not by monies raised, but by relationships built. And we've shown that. The people came out and they have spoken. And if that don't build your belief in the citizens, and I do have full faith in the citizens of my district and across North Carolina and across America, that people will come out. But I realize this: every vote counts.
Oh, yes.
If you want to change, every vote counts. It does.
Well, like I said, I stayed up that night waiting to see what it would never update, and it would never update, and it got down to Guilford, and I was like, oh man, I'm a political junkie, especially at election times, and trying strategies, and I don't know, I just that gets me going. I guess everybody's crazy. I am too, and so. And I told a lot of people, I said, I truly believe this is going to be about like 1,000 vote difference or less. And I said, because here you've got a sheriff that's been there forever, and here you got a senator that's been there forever. And so everybody up there knows you. It's not like you're getting these people moving in 300 a day like Charlotte or whatever. Y'all don't have you're growing, but you're not growing leaps and bounds. So everybody kind of knows everybody. And so who are you trying to sway? It's a small little segment that you're trying to sway one way or another. And money's, like you said, money ain't going to really do it necessarily. And I think, you tell me, I know there was outside money, but I think your campaign spent about $45,000, give or take. And I think Phil's spent about $12 million, give or take. Yeah. And that's a pretty big difference,
Well, there is, but also your strategies and how you apply those monies. And I think I'm not going to get into talking about their strategies, but I think they miscued and they offended a lot of people because I've always run a good straight up race and stuff. Talk about what I stand for, what I try to accomplish, and the other side appeared that the supporters on that end were trying to, on the opposite side, were trying to basically break down and destroy the years of hard work that we've done. But the thing is, they found out they couldn't overcome that because we built the trust within the citizens, and they know. I'm introducing myself over the next few months to more people in Guilford County because they don't know me as well. Mm-hmm. But for 28 years we've communicated through media, which covers the Piedmont area, so people know there's a sheriff in the county up to Rockingham County and what we're doing, because we always try to be very transparent and let the people know, good or bad. We've had some issues that we've had to deal with and stuff like this, but I always believe in being transparent and upfront with the public, and that's the key to success. Is having that transparency, having that trust, building that trust, and I think it will carry you as long as you stand the work and stuff. Because at the end of the day, I want to be remembered just for good work. That's all. No, they don't have to get a pat on the back. Just we did a good job. We built some good teams. We had some great years, and at the end of the day, it was about the citizens that we serve. That's it.
Well, my granddad always told me, he said, you do what's right and you tell the truth, it's going to be a whole lot easier to remember than what you didn't tell, what you didn't do, but told people you did, and the stuff you didn't do that you said you did. So,
what was that said on the Andy Griffin show? I grew up on the Andy Griffin side.
Oh, yeah, me too.
What did it say? Oh, what a tangled web you weave when you first practice to the sea.
That's right.
So always do it right. I tell guys, follow the law, treat people how you want to treat it. And another thing is just remember that treat people like family. If you treat people like family, it's hard to go wrong.
That's right. That's right. I always say they don't care what you know till they know that you care. And so if you go into this with I care about you and I care about what's going on with your family, and if I can help you, I will, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. But, out of 26,000 plus votes, 2. It gets down to 2. And now I know it's grown since then. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that, Sam. I just don't know if I ever have in my life.
Well, I told everybody, I said, I believe it's going to be close because I know there was a lot of expenditures in the race. But I didn't discount the fact of the relationships and the trust. And I said, people in Rockingham County, they know me very well. What is this, my
28?
10th run.
Yeah.
This is my 10th run for office, and I've been successful. 8 runs, including this run right here. And we carried every precinct in Rockingham County. Now, in Guilford, we didn't as good as I like, but part of that is because I'm going to have to introduce myself more to the citizens in Guilford. But the thing about it, at the end of the day, when they meet me, I think they're going to see I'm the real deal, that I stand for the people, I stand for the citizens. My ear is to them, not special interests.
Well, I guess the question that a lot of people have is, I think we're going into like our third or fourth form of a recount. Has it got to the point yet where he's asked for a complete hand-to-eye recount of every ballot? Has that happened, or are we about that?
I think I read that was already been done. But see, there's a process, and if you don't get to one process, you can't do the other.
Right.
So there'll be a sampling of a precinct in Guilford, Rockingham County, selected by the State Board of Elections, and then it's 3% of those. And then there'll be an eye-hand count. I'll be there tomorrow, and I'll be observing. The main thing is I want the State Board of Elections to know, and also the local Board of Elections, and we're watching. And I've had some situations that I have some concerns about, which I've addressed those issues with Dave Bolick, and a member, and of course there was a member also of the State Board that had to resign because of crossing boundaries. Look, just don't create an issue of our impropriety. Or I'm not saying anybody's done anything wrong, but just don't give an air of that. And again, but if it appears to be a conflict, there's a conflict.
Well, I always say where there's smoke, there probably is fire. Just give it enough time. Time.
Well, like I said, everybody will be watching, and the citizens, and we're being transparent. And what's amazing to me is all the media coverage. They're covered. I've talked to people from the New York Times and other places around the country. But in North Carolina, during this race and stuff like this, there is media watching. They are reporting it to the public, and we're going to be transparent during this whole process. But I'm optimistic we'll prevail.
Well, I think right is right and wrong is wrong. So that we're going to look and see, because I told everybody, I said, they're going to do everything they can to throw out the provisional setting. But at the end of the day, it gives back to 2 registered, approved votes. And I said, I don't know how you throw out a registered, approved votes. I don't know how you do it.
Well, I think at time you get into it where it's futile. And you got to go through the process. I got that.
I know.
But eventually it gets futile. And the reality is we won.
Well, that's it. Well, and, I tell you what, and don't take this the wrong way, but I think Phil got into what we call the Al Gore syndrome. And the Al Gore syndrome was, if Al Gore could have won his home state of Tennessee, he would have been president. But he didn't. He got beat, and that's how you had George W. Bush. And I think when it all gets said and done, Phil's from Rockingham County, and he didn't win his home county. So that says a lot. That says a lot in my mind.
Well, like I said, I've had 10 runs for office, and I've been successful at 8 of those. But even on the run I made for lieutenant governor, I carried many counties, including Guilford, Rockingham County, and surrounding. So I did very well in the Piedmont area in the congressional district. So I felt very good. I felt like that was telling me that, we can be successful on this. And but at the end of the day, I'm excited. But I also, I have an obligation. I am continue working as sheriff in Rockingham County, and I'll continue until my final day at the end of November. And so on December 1st, I'll complete my assignment and my contract with the citizens as sheriff, and then hope to be transitioning in January.
I got you. Well, let me ask you this. All right, once you get seated, I know you're going to want to work with the help do with law enforcement. Everybody has what they can do, and you've been involved in law enforcement. What other things do you see that need to happen in Rockingham and Upper Guilford County? What does your district really need that you can get and help them do?
Well, the thing is, I tell this to a lot of citizens that we have a lot of kids that go to college and stuff like this, and they don't come back because they don't feel like they can have anything to come back to.
Yeah.
We've got to boost our economics development here in the county. We have a lot of great people. We have a great community college, and there are a lot of, I think there can potentially be a lot of great opportunities here. But we've got to market Rockingham County and Guilford County. And we got to draw those economic opportunities, because I want people to come back to this district, because I don't want them to go somewhere else. I want to come back here and reinvest, because they're the future. They're the future of the growth of the county and stuff. But what you do in the legislature or if you're in a commission board, what you do is you try to create environments conducive to the economy and to build out. And that's something we really need to work on. I think that, Rockingham County is still a Tier 1 county after 25 years. That doesn't say a whole lot for my opponent. And, I think we should have been in better shape. But unfortunately, we're a Tier 1 county. I want to see us do better, and much better. And I want opportunity, a work opportunity. I want to see a budget passed in July 1.
Yes.
Working with the Senate and the House. I want to see a budget passed in July 1 instead of going 8 months down the road and 80,000 state employees not seeing their benefits. I'm watching what's happening at the federal level with the TSA and Homeland Security and all this. The people that are out here protecting our communities and stuff like this, they need their pay to support their look after their families. And but the thing about it is, but we in the legislature have an obligation to find the monies to support those efforts in public safety. Now, they're in education. I support school choice, not a problem there. But I believe that public schools should be fully funded. Teachers should be paid a competitive pay. They need to return the master's pay. We need to keep the best of the best to teach our children in public schools. In the homeschool setting, I believe that parents need to get some type of a tax credit because they're having to pay for the resources and the books to educate their kids at home, and that's the second largest group is homeschool. And then, of course, you got your charter school, and then you got your private schools. But education, we owe each child in North Carolina a quality education. I want to make sure that happens.
Well,
because if we do that, that's a better guarantee that we're going to get a return, and those kids are going to come back to the communities and reinvest in our community.
Amen. Well, Sam, I'll tell you what, it goes by quick. We're running out of time. We hope to get you back on maybe here in another month or two or something as things progress. Pray that it works out, and congratulations on a well-run race, and I hope you're successful in getting seated. And this has been a heck of a political theater to watch this come out. I know you don't appreciate it, but the rest of us have been eating popcorn and said, daggum. So appreciate what you...
Well, I appreciate it. I look forward to working with you guys. I would ask everybody, please pray for our president and our leaders across America and across North Carolina and our communities. Please pray for them that they'll make the right decisions to move us forward and also to keep us safe. And I appreciate the opportunity to come on today. And again, like I say, feel free to give me a call anytime. And also, if anybody needs to call me, go to my website, Sam Page, 4 NC. My phone number's posted there. I'd love to hear from you.
All right, brother. You take care. See you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Jeff.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, folks. That was good talking to Sheriff Sam Page. Maybe soon, hopefully, to be Senator. Dear Heavenly Father, dear Lord, we just thank you. We thank you for men and women who have the heart and want to serve their fellow man and woman, dear Lord. And I pray for our service people all over this world, dear Lord, to keep them safe. Give us wisdom, give us discernment, lead and guide us, and give the president and all of us that are elected, dear Lord, wisdom. That's the main thing we need. In Jesus Christ's name, amen. All right, folks, until next week, take care.
Thank you for tuning in to Taking Care of NC. We hope today's program offered valuable insight into the topics shaping North Carolina's future. Stay informed, stay engaged, and join us next time as we continue exploring the issues that matter most to our state. Until then, take care, and thank you for being a part of the conversation.
Real Country is 550 AM WAME, 92.9 W225BD, Statesville.
WAME and Bunce Johnson Funeral Home are proud to present our national anthem, Bunce Johnson, where every detail matters. Call them at 704-873-7223 or stop by